What's up guys, KPlays here. Gotta love those content drops at the beginning of the work week, eh? Could be worse though. Instead of taking a couple days to get a chance to farm up all the gear for this title update, I could have been waiting a full 7 years to even get to talk about this horn in the first place. Yeah, that's right, we're talking about the dude stick of the Lord of the Seas himself, Lagia Thunderpeal. A painstakingly improved Lagia horn. It brings rough seas as thunder echoes across the land. And you know what else it brings? A set of stats and a song list that are so complementary to what it sets out to do that we have another regular crafted horn that actually competes with Ardian. It's always great to see a new contender from the added content, and Thunderpeal accomplishes that title in a pretty interesting way. Let's look into why. First, compared to a hypothetically perfect 4 attack, 1 sharpness Thunder Ardian horn, which I unfortunately don't have at the moment, so we'll use this near perfect water horn as a template instead, we have the following. 225 raw, there's 10% on mine, but normally 5% affinity, 350 element, and an average bit of white sharpness. Thunderpeal just barely tops that attack at 230, which on a side note is 10 higher than most other Lagia weapons, so for once the hunting horn isn't dealing with any stat penalties. Loads of white make this thing more comfortable to keep at max sharpness, and 450 element puts it noticeably higher than Ardian. But it doesn't stop there. We have to address those built-in skills. The general approach for Lagia seems to be picking a few points of something that each weapon might find uniquely useful. They went with Slugger for the hunting horn, and while a point or two of Maestro would have been more useful, a bump in the stun damage isn't too bad, I guess. The real star of the show here though was the Convert Thunder Resistance, the unique skill exclusive to Lagia weapons. With this active, any thunder resistance you have will be converted into thunder attack on your weapon, at a rate of about 2 to 1 per point. When we look to the song list and Echo Bubble, there's some great synergy going on to take advantage of this. Thunderpeal has the same list as Precipice Kavira, meaning that you get a few songs dedicated towards survival and healing, elemental attack up, and the offset melody. Elemental attack up obviously drives your stats even higher, but on top of that you also have the defense and elemental resistance bubble for 10% more defense and more importantly, plus 5 in every resistance, and the Thunder Resist song to add an additional 7. That's right, unlike the Kirin horn in World, this song actually ends up coming in handy on a Thunder horn. Although it's not defensively. Effectively this horn now has 3 stacking elemental damage buffs, and the numbers get about as high as you would expect hearing that. Now before we get into the use case scenarios and set building for this horn, we of course need to take a break and hear how it sounds. I've said it before and I'll say it again, sneaking bits of a monster's theme music into the audio clips of its hunting horn is a 10 out of 10 design choice. Lagia's horn might not have been able to stick to a consistent song list over the years, starting with purple red green in the 3rd generation and switching to purple blue light blue in the 4th gen before finally landing on what we have here. But that theme music, totally iconic. That aside though, let's talk the meta with this thing. If you don't have a Thunder Ardian horn right now, or just don't like using Ardian horns in general, although with layered weapons being a thing now, the looks are less of a reason to turn them down, you probably won't lose much if you skip farming for it in favor of just using Thunderpeal. The stats on this thing are absolutely amazing, and if you're going to be going after a Thunder weak monster, you might as well go with the option that can crank its elemental damage up super high. There is one catch that keeps Elmotica in the running though, the difference in special performances. See, despite having lower raw, much lower element, and less sharpness, which you think would seal its fate, Elemental Elmotica has resounding melody in its song list, and that's huge. Any monster with a lot of good hit zones to it, especially if they're good for both raw and element, is going to get absolutely shredded by the piercing sound waves. Monsters like, say, the Arch-Tempered Uthuna we're going to have access to in a few weeks. With offset melody in its repertoire instead, Thunderpeal is stuck only using its special performance to counter your attack and rely on Echo Wave Thunder recitals to crank out elemental damage instead. That means that rather than having one clearly beat the other, our choice of ideal Thunderhorn is going to change based on the matchup. Against monsters like the Double Wide Fish over there, Thunderpeal could do well, but Elmotica may pull ahead with the Resounding spam, because that move is just that strong. On the other hand though, if for whatever reason Resounding won't work well on a monster, or you have a particularly weak hit zone or two to focus down on, Thunderpeal will shine in that type of fight setting. Of course, there is also the matter of skill space whenever comparing anything to an Ardean weapon, so I guess there's actually two factors that keep it in the running. While Lagia's Horn might have the better stats, Ardean will be able to fit in things like crit boost or mind's eye on top of Horn Maestro and attack boost, thanks to those 3 level 3 slots. Just, pretend there's an attack 3 deco here because RNG was nice enough to give me one, alright? Okay? I don't want to talk about it. In any case though, like I said, it'll mainly come down to the monster you're up against. The recently added Seregios is a perfect example of this. It refuses to sit still, has a slightly smaller frame with 2 nice targets in the head and legs to abuse. As you guys can see, you can absolutely bully a monster like that with Thunderpeal. And the offset even comes in handy to stop those spammy attacks cold and get him to sit still for a sec. I'm playing it fairly casually here just to mess around with some of the most recent Hunting Horn buffs, and even got rudely party crashed by a Balahara in the beginning, and still took old Steve down in just under 5 minutes. Optimizing your sets and your hunts will ensure that any matchups that this horn excels in will go down ASAP. Now when it comes to optimizing sets for Thunderpeal, I really wanted to make something work with the Lagiacrus set, but I ultimately decided to just stick with the current 3 AT Ray and 2 Gore mix. There's decent enough thunder resistance on this set already and space to add an extra decoration to bump it up slightly more for the conversion skill to do its thing, so we're fine. The Azure Bolt set bonus sounds interesting on paper and could have been an interesting alternative to the classic Black Eclipse, trading that 10% of added affinity and extra raw for a burst of thunder damage when activated, but the uptime unfortunately just doesn't compare. When Azure Bolt goes up after dealing a certain amount of damage, you get it for 20 seconds with the 2-piece bonus and 30 with the 4-piece, but then for whatever reason this is followed by a 30-second cooldown before you can even try to activate it again. Just to put into perspective just how much downtime that results in, I'm just gonna sit here and let it play out in real time for you. Ready? Yeah, that. Multiple times a hunt. Not too good. It's a shame too, because the extra thunder resistance you could fit into a 2-piece mix set with Arch-Tempered Ray can get those elemental numbers even higher, but not quite by enough to make it worthwhile or compensate for all that downtime. We don't want to try the 4-piece because it'd mean giving up the 5% attack bonus for Lord Soul for, nothing but 10 more seconds of uptime on that affinity and higher burst damage per activation. Oh, and more of a headache from laggy Sapphire harming too. 3 gems for the set and another for the horn, Capcom? Really? But anyway, we might end up finding a use for singular pieces at some point because the skills on this set are actually top notch. And even though our build meta wasn't changed much by the Lord of the Seas, he did bring us a 10 out of 10 weapon. Great looks, great stats, and a set of special factors that all work perfectly together. If you haven't crafted this one, what are you waiting for? Oh yeah, probably those sapphires to finally drop, silly me. In any case though, next up we'll be going over the other horn title update Who Brought Us. Not Macom's edition, because as I should have guessed, the final stage Seregios weapons are probably coming in Master Rank, but the Alisol Muse. That one is going to be an interesting topic to talk about, compared to its counterpart this update. You'll see. Until then though, this has been another K-Plays, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.